And we're back.
Thank you, Sam. Um, 1 second. Can you see me well? Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Elie. First of all, thank you all for coming and attending. A lot of friends have messaged me and supported me, so I'm very thankful. And in particular, two people, Audrey, who empowered me to do this talk, and Robin, who jumped in quickly to review this with me. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I am very excited about. It's something very basic. It's going to be a really wide talk, but it's going to be very focused to one particular idea. You're going to look at it, you're going to be like, is this all? And I'll be like, yes, this is it. It's not rocket science. It's just we need to weave, so it has to always be happening. Um, so let's get into who I'm not, which Sam wrote about me. I'm not a great chef. And some of my greatest achievements pertain to chicken sushi, which is when I came here, I was playing around with the oven and the oven didn't function properly, and I got out with chicken sushi, which is they were still slightly raw. And I thought maybe the chicken in the UK was different because that's when I moved here. And then the second one happened on Sunday. We tested my house smoke detectors. If I cough right now, it's because of that. My throat has been slightly damaged because of it, but we're doing much better. Um, Again, fun is the keyword here. I like to cook for the fun of it. I usually go out hungry. We order pizzas. Everyone's happy. We go from there. Who I am? I'm someone who cares about the AppSec industry. I've been part of it for more than 5 years now, but these 5 years are different from the regular. I've really involved myself in almost every aspect of the AppSec industry. And in particular, I have been project leader over 3 projects, and I have co-authored one with Spiros, who's with us in the crowd, and Rob, who's a wonderful person. I'm a technical editor for Alice and Bob Learn Application Security, which is an AppSec book written by Tanya. And then I am a status quo challenger. This is what I'm doing here, basically. Um, I'm trying to speak a different version of what AppSec looks like, because I feel with everything happening, with how fast we're growing as an industry, we're kind of losing touch with what we actually are. I go to the gym. Might not look like it, but I do. Um, and some friends say about me that I'm innocently brutally honest. Um, I will usually stand up anytime you talk to me. I'll be like, "Why are you talking like this?" and just ram at you. Who is this talk for? This is for everyone. It's a really wide audience in my eyes. If you're a techie, uh, I want you to learn about us. I want you to see how you can see more about us and work with us better. If you're a manager, I want you, or a leader, I want you to lead us, to enable us, to help us join whatever you're working on, and challenge us. Because sometimes we will bring something to your engineering team and you'll be like, well, this doesn't suit me. This doesn't suit my team. How can we change it? And then we'll go back to the drawing board and do something better. So do that. If you're none of those, well, I hope you learn a bit about us, because I'm going to cover a lot of grounds in this talk. So I can just get to that endpoint. Where am I heading with this? So I hope I can deliver this message to you. So how does the talk look like? We're going to start with an AppSec story. What is AppSec about? What's its current presence? How did it grow? And then its strategic potential. This isn't a complete guide. Don't go out there and quote me for every word I've said. It's more of a blueprint. I wanted to take this and actually build on top of it. I wanted to be comfortable looking at it and saying, oh, this is easy, this is simple. I'm going to use it. I'm going to draw different lines. And, oh, this works for me. This doesn't. And this is based on opinions and experiences. I have not done scientific research. I'm not in a master's degree. I'm not in a PhD. It's me. So what this talk is not about, do not expect me to teach you how to sell AppSec to an organization. That is a whole different talk of its own. I cannot start the first, I cannot sell AppSec as an idea to an organization that doesn't speak it from this talk. Uh, but potentially you can take something from it and start applying it as a security team, different conversation. So the why of today. Why are we here? Why did I decide to take the stage? Um, so I've been looking around in our industry and I'm like, well, great. What are we debating? What are we fighting for? What are we challenging? Where's our focus going ahead? And what is AppSec anymore at this stage? Is it actually ProdSec? I'm not sure. But I've seen people talk about this, like application security or product security, and there's small nuances. And I get it. In the department or in an organization, it's important to identify what each of them represents. But if I have already an AppSec team or a ProdSec team, whatever you want to call it, that is not my concern. I really don't care about that. I want the how do I actually make my company secure? And this doesn't answer any of those. It just helps me to market my team, which is great. And there's a lot of discussions like this. We have a lot of time on our hands nowadays. I don't like it. So, what is AppSec? In my eyes, what does AppSec mean? So, in the marketing version, you will see always like three number of pillars, the three pillars that identify AppSec, the five, the six pillars. Just write down AppSec pillars on Google and you will find 17 versions of it. Well, it's mostly marketing, is what I want to say. And the actual main target of this is we want to produce increasingly robust applications. And you notice here I say robust, not secure, not because there's a big difference, but because robust is more easy to take. If a building is not robust, then it's not secure by design. Like if a fire goes off and oh, we can't get out of it. Yeah, are we really secure? But it's robust. It can handle the fire. It can lead us out. It can take care of us. So it's robust. I want to look at it from that perspective. How robust are we as an application? And AppSec's main identity is how can we make our applications, our products for ProdSec teams more robust? What are AppSec pillars? I have joked about it, but what are they? What is it technical? Is it a technical pillar? Is it infrastructure? Is it a framework? Is it tooling? Is it data? Is it cultural? Are we talking training? Are we talking processes? How do engineering work with security? How does security work with itself? It doesn't matter. You choose your own pillars to drive a strategy, which you can probably build from a maturity program. You go ahead and you see, this is where I stand on my AppSec program. Great. This is what I need. These are the main pillars that will push me forward. This is my vision. Great. These are 5 pillars I need. These are 17 pillars I need. Let's go with it. There are two main frameworks, SAM and BSIM. They will help you figure that out. What about our jargon? I think all industries love it, but we in security love it a bit more. We have DevSecOps, we have shifting left, we have secure by design, and the most newest, coolest kids in the hood are shifting everywhere and shift smart. So what are all of these? I'm gonna touch on them lightly. I'm not gonna go deep into them, but let's declassify them. DevSecOps came when DevOps was coming out, and it built on top of it. It was like DevOps is now the big hype. DevOps is developers' operations mixing together so that we can deploy faster. We can have this channel between developers and releasing their product faster to whatever we wanted to release and integrate everything. So we came around and said, oh, but you guys aren't doing security. And it's a very important component of your stuff. So we're going to use DevSecOps till you start saying DevOps and do security internally. That never happened. So that still exists. Second was shift left. It built on the software development lifecycle. If someone doesn't know it, it's basically from requirements, what do you want to build, to releasing it to the public. And it's shifting left, going from this is in the public cloud, and then here, this is the requirements phase. We're starting off from a product, a new product. So we want to shift to the start. We want to take it from the start with them. We don't want to do, as Johnny was saying, oh, we are releasing this product here, take it. Can you do something about it? And we only have a week. Yeah, good luck. Secure by design, it's a shift left mentality. It came on top of SDLC and was like SSDLC, which is secure software development lifecycle. We start from the start, secure by design, and then we go all the way up. And then something was lost in translation. Marketing and tool providers decided to say, hey, shift left, take our product. Or some companies decided to take it by the ear and be like, shift left and forget the right. So like they stopped testing, they stopped operational, and they're like, we only do threat models now. And that's not good because we need to cover all of it. And then there's something called now shift smart, which is risk-based. It's a shift everywhere methodology. These two have come out in the last a year and two. They really focus on what is the priority for the business, and then from that you start shifting your focus. So should I focus on the requirements? This is where the biggest problem is happening. We go there, and then they shifted the SDLC based on that. Growth of AppSec. I'm not gonna cover everything. I'm not gonna put a timeline with dates and all of that. That's too boring for 7:30. What's the time? Yeah, um, that's too boring for now. There's a talk and there's a blog that discuss application security, how it grew, where it is now, or a year ago, because they were released in the past year. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do something lighter. I'm gonna go through simple steps that define, in my opinion, AppSec as it is now, bit by bit. Again, this is a personal review, not a scientifically backed thing. Um, First of all, security started to become a thing in the corporate world. Before it was in the corporate, it was people hacking things and people in the hood just gathering around and be like, "Oh, we're gonna pass by this house and we're gonna hack it and go from there." Security was really simple back then, but at the same time, technology was simple. People were starting to get a hand up. And then it started to happen that corporate world needed security. Standards were coming out. Um, then thick clients and web apps were widespread. They started to take the internet like this. Um, and security was not ready for it. So security needed to adapt and grow. Uh, and then OWASP happened in 2001. It started to grow. W was for web. Now it's not for web anymore because AppSec is about everything nowadays. It's not just the web. It was created early 2000, and then from there, it's still the biggest organization that works in the AppSec industry. And then in the engineering side of things, agile activity started to challenge waterfall. Waterfall is when we delivered a product at the end, like we gave the requirements and we were like, in 6 months, we'll meet again, give us the product, goodbye. And what happened is engineering felt like, no, we need to talk more. We guys aren't in sync. So agile started to happen, activity started to challenge waterfall, people became more communicative. Um, After that, DevOps came around. We started to see challenges. We started to see we want to release faster. We want to build faster. We want to share whatever we have developed faster for everyone. Um, Previously, it was IT that did most of this, but then the cloud slightly growing. How we release things slightly changed. We have pipelines. We have a huge amount of automation that happens. IT was not ready for it. DevOps slightly came in. Um, and then this is where our first objective came in. We are starting to search for an enabler security. And that was AppSec's big first objective. It wasn't AppSec's big first objective, it was security, but that translated into AppSec. Because security is always looked at as a gatekeeper, and it still is. Now, if you go and talk to someone who's never interacted with an AppSec engineer, they'll be like, oh, they sent me an email to reset my password or to throw whatever I have gotten from the streets. Uh, why did you plug a USB into your laptop? Those were the conversations. Or if you were releasing a product, they'll be like, no, you can't. Why? They don't have an answer for you because they don't know what you're building. Um, then tool growth happened. We're talking WAFs improved. They're not the best, but previously, before WAF, we had a firewall that used to cover the whole network. So whether you had an application, whether you had whatever you had, a firewall, and that wasn't enough. It didn't understand HTTP. It didn't understand the request. It didn't understand any of the threats that were pertaining to it. And then DAST, which is dynamic testing, which kind of tries to mimic an attacker attacking your website. And then we had weird SAST. I say weird SAST because SAST isn't easy. It's not easy to code scan. Understanding how the code functions, how the classes link together, and where a certain business logic is going to show up, that was hard. And SAST was mostly like a marketing gig. They wouldn't identify plenty except for very simple things. Now they're better, but back in the days, that was weird. And then DevSecOps and shift left happened. And this is the last point on this slide, but on the next slide, there's more. But I stopped at this one because this is, I think, where the biggest growth happened. These two enabled us to really say, AppSec is here. Listen to us, talk to us. We exist. And this gave us massive growth across several pillars. I'm going to touch on them lightly, but there's a lot of information in this. First of all is AppSec programs and maturity levels. AppSec teams now wanted to see where are we against everyone else? Are we doing good? Should we invest more? Do we need to focus on requirements, on design, on testing, on operations? Where should we focus? AppSec teams existed now, but they don't know where to calibrate themselves. Mapping of standards. This is a project Pierce is working on. It's called OpenCRE. And it's basically a language, a single language, as Johnny was talking about. Having one language for people to talk is very important. And what this does is it communicates between requirements to design, to testing, to code development. It allows you to give one ID and gives you everything else. So this is very important. It's now being worked on, but this is very important to how AppSec is able to communicate with the pen testers, with the people threat modeling, with the project manager who's building requirements. How do you put it in a story? Well, just link the ID, and the ID will help everyone else. Um, Risk discussions and analysis. In the past year, I have seen a big boom in risk. We always spoke about CVSS. We had version 3.1. I didn't look for how long that was, but everyone hated CVSS 3.1 because it didn't give enough context, but everyone used it regardless. And then now this year, CVSS 4 came out. It added a lot of context to it. It added this security issue that you're seeing here is not just this. It has a lot more. So it might be, maybe it was a critical based on the CIA triad, but now it's completely different because it's internal, it's locked in, no one can access it, no one can reach it. What's the risk? There's no risk, no one can reach it. It's probably a low, but it's not your biggest priority. So going back to the question you're asking on how do you set risks or how do you prioritize things? Well, you need the context to see where the risk is happening. And then EPSS, I'm not going to delve too deep into it, but it helps you find the predictability of a certain issue. How much is this issue going to actually happen? It came out, I think, a year ago. Next is application security posture management. This allows you to see everything in one pane. It allows you to see all of your vulnerabilities, your risks, everything in one piece, and then management can look at it and say, oh, this is where we need to focus. And you have the combination of, oh, this project is failing from a design perspective, but on the release side, it's all secured. Oh, good, they're doing a good job once we have the conversation with them. Some people don't have anything at the start. Right, let's focus there. Supply chain security. I think from 2020, I think it just exploded with every big breach that has happened since 2020 has partially been related to supply chain, whether we like it or not. And the two biggest components for it are SBOMs, which is like an inventory management for the whatever libraries you call into your product or your cloud or everything you use will have to be in an SBOM. It's like your contract. It's like we have X, Y, and Z. This is the version. This is what we think it contains. Good. This is the tree. And then SCA is the tool that consumes it, and it has its own vulnerability database management to say like, oh, this version of this library has a problem. And in the past years, they have been growing tremendously. And then at the end, we have threat modeling, which is kind of being marketed as a silver bullet for everything. But it happens that we have some problems with it. We're going to get to that. But one good thing about this, as Johnny said, that threat modeling has existed from the early 2000s, but never was used. And we actually can use it in everyday life, like crossing the street or whatever. Threat modeling is part of us as humans. We just never cared about it. So, and very simple, AppSec is growing exponentially, especially in the past couple of years. Because if you go back to this slide on its own happened in kind of like 4 years, while everything you've seen before has taken like 15 years. So the growth has been very strong here. And I think it's very important that we tackle this in this talk. So since everything looks so good, since we have this growth happening, what are the challenges here? This caricature, I've loved it since I started in the industry. It existed before I have existed, I think, because this problem is always there. You only have one security engineer, and you have 17 tools, and you have 500 teams, and you have a whole organization. Poor Dave, man. I feel sorry for him every time I look at this. And the challenges really resolve around a couple of bits. One of them is scaling, which we're going to tackle in this talk. Second is tooling's burnout. When you have, as as Johnny said, people now usually have like 100 tools that feed into one specific spot, and you're like, right, what do I do about all of this? That is tooling's burnout. I can't handle all of the incoming. Sorry, I can handle all the income. Integration challenges. We're talking here security with security because AppSec is different from security in a slight manner. Each one has a vision, but they coincide in certain areas. You have AppSec and engineering, which is the biggest and most interesting challenge for all of us. The third one is AppSec with SMEs, subject matter experts. So here we're talking product, we're talking QA, we're talking business. Why are they the SMEs? Because our focus, first and foremost, is how do we make a secure product, and the one who built it are engineers. So engineering is our main focus, and then everything around it is a subject matter expert. How I look at it, because they can create their own features, they can create their own things, but a QA person cannot build the feature and then test it. It's the other way around. So scale challenges. Who's ready for it? I'm gonna start first with describing the several challenges we have right now in terms of scale, what people have tried to rely on, what they've tried to see at least. And the first one is the old ways challenges. How did old ways do it? How did old security do it? Point in time activities. It was like, oh, the engineering team has a release in October. We need to do a pen test and get a compliance check on this. Great, great. And then every year you do the same, and then you get the same exact report with the same exact vulnerabilities without anything being touched because it's just a point in time activity. No one cares about it because they've only invested in it this amount of time. You can think about it as well, security through compliance. We need to be PCI DSS compliant. Great, we do that, and then we don't speak about security ever again. Perfect. The second one is AppSec teams try to go into a consultancy form, or they hire consultants, either or. And this kind of is good, but at the same time, it has its challenges. First one is the human disconnect. You disconnect from the day-to-day concerns. If I don't talk to someone every other day, they're gonna look at me and be like, I don't feel like talking to you about what is happening with me. You ask me about this, I'm gonna give you this. Take this and leave me alone. You don't have the time for me. It's just human nature, or how things are used to. Second is heavy reliance on structure. Once we go into consultancy, our time becomes precious. We can't do whatever we want with whoever we want. If you need to talk to us, you need to follow this flow that is complicated. And then when engineers looking at it and be like, yeah, I'll only message them when I have an urge to do that. Like I am needed to do that. Otherwise, I will avoid them. Third one is planned communication. Based on those two examples, communication is no longer someone popped in my DM, sent me a random message about, oh, this is happening. This doesn't happen anymore. It becomes more of, oh, he scheduled a call with me in 2 months' time. That'll be nice. Yeah. Fourth, it's advice becomes slightly detached. A security engineer comes and sees, oh, this is a feature they're building. Great. And then gives them advice. But then engineering was looking for a different type of advice because engineering has been building this whole set and you're looking at it from a very small window that you can't visualize everything. It becomes really hard. And then this leads us to knowledge depth. When you become a consultant, you're elevated. You're not part of what is going on the ground. You don't have the proper human connection, and you don't have the technology connection anymore because you're a consultant now. And you can't actually stay on top of this when you're working with 15 teams, let's say. Each team has their own version, have their own framework, have their own product. And every product is different. It's hard to stay on top of every product because engineering do it for a living. Imagine you trying to come in 1 week, oh, this looks good, and then go away. That is impossible. Engineers get paid for a reason. And then at the end, what happens is a culture shift because companies with time grow. And the people that did the proper AppSec has left, and the new teams that weren't onboarded with friends don't know really how security works. It's just a process now. So a whole huge culture shift happens in here without us noticing. Everything becomes disconnected. Right. This is where we start talking about threat modeling. People look at threat modeling as like, this is the silver bullet. This is going to fix my problems. And it's on the tongue of every CISO, every AppSec leader. It's slightly funny, but it's great. From one side, it's great because it is being marketed like never before. People are now pulling, how do we build tools? How do we make better threat models? And I'm going to mention now the challenges, not to discourage it. We're going to talk about how to enable threat modeling later, but it still has challenges at this current time. First one is forgotten models. This is documentation. Threat models are a documentation piece. Some people have tried to include it within the code. So threat modeling as a code, you can find it. There's basically one or two tools at best. Um, Models get forgotten really fast. They get outdated really fast um, because they are, if you look at it, they're a point in time activity. We're back to that problem. Two, threat models have a huge cost because how people look at it, they're like, right, we need to set 3 sessions, each session an hour. We need to go over all of this and we need to cover all of this within this time. And as Johnny mentioned, you have several things to look at. You have to look at the threats, you have to look at the risks, and you have to look at the controls. And when all of this is done, how do you prioritize them? Because threat models generate a lot of threats because it's all you're just trying to think before something happens. If I tell you, oh, I'm going out on the streets, you can think of 17 things that might happen to me before I reach the street. So imagine that in a very complex model. Lack of expertise. Threat models existed for a long while, but they weren't picked up till recently. People are usually scared of them. They're like, I don't know how to threat model. It's scary. I have to work with engineers. I have to look the act. How do I do it? Like, I don't have the knowledge for it. And there's very small trainings around it and like a very handful of books. So it's growing, but it's still in a growth stage. And then you have to write the training and the guides for your internal teams. How do we do threat modeling? How is it done in our company? And if you want to do it, how can you do it? So you have your internal training as well for the people that will do it. And then at the end of the day, it's standalone in most of the situations. You do a threat model, you don't link it to requirements, you don't link it to pen tests, you don't look at it again. It just is thrown somewhere, which is not good. Next is security champion. I love them. My favorite thing in this industry is security champions, but people or industries usually implement them in a weird way, and they have their challenges. First of all, is you need to be consistent and you need to be able to build a community. Because if you're not consistent, this person is gonna look at you and be like, "Oh, we meet. Oh, we meet occasionally. We don't know when we meet. We don't know what we meet about. We don't have someone that is pushing us to learn something, to do something. It becomes fragile, and they don't care about it. We are at work at the end of the day. We want to be doing something that benefits us, that gives us joy. And if you're not consistent, if you don't build this up, it doesn't work out. Second is buy-in. What we're saying here to management, please give us a certain amount of time from this engineer. It will pay back. We promise you. Yeah. How do you prove that? How do you show that? How do you get the first initial buy-in? That is not easy to do unless you already have the culture. Third is personal growth. I'm talking about a security champion's personal growth. I'm not talking about ours. Because for a security champion to be part of this program, they want to grow because this is their career. This is not your pet project. If you don't have a personal growth career for them, yeah, they're not gonna stay in. Four is competing priorities. They are an engineer at the end of the day. If a product manager comes to them and says, listen, we need to focus on this feature, a competitor is gonna beat us up because of this. By design, engineering focuses on that. And that makes sense because it is business value. And security hasn't shown it yet. Strategic and tactical vision. So this is kind of important. In terms of a security champion program, a lot of people just start it and say, oh, we want to build a community of security champions. How does it grow? What is our end goal? Or what is our 1 year goal? Where are we heading? Are we just heading to have like 50 security champions? That is my goal. Perfect. That isn't really strategy. This doesn't really give confidence in the vision we're setting for a security champion program. We want to set a vision for engineering to look up to security to lean on, because security champions become our first collaborators. So what can we do? I'm going to look at it from two pieces, one as an individual contributor and the other one as a leader, because both of these are important. I'm going to say this: enable. This is the biggest word I will say today. It's to enable, on top of weave, of course. But as application security, our main job was to enable security. And at this stage, we're focused so much on technology, we have forgotten about what we were supposed to do: enable engineering to deliver secure products. We kind of failed. Not necessarily failed, but we have gone off the road. And Johnny showed us very nice lines about it. Um, and then you might come and tell me, sometimes I'm not allowed to enable. Sometimes I have clashes. Sometimes I have misalignment, whether it's about us scaling as AppSec teams, whether we have too many tools, I don't have time to enable people, I don't have time to change how we do things, or you just don't agree with management. I'm going to tell you, just enable smartly. You might look at me and you're like, are you okay, Elie? What does it mean to enable smartly? How does it happen? Um, it's very simple, again. So I hope it actually feels simple to all of you. We're going to start off with a way of being. How are we as individual contributors and as leaders? This is for both. And first thing is, we need to care for our audience. Our audience as engineers, as AppSec engineers, are the engineers themselves. We need to look out for them. We need to care for them. And we're going to talk about this in a few. And then as a leader, you need to focus on your AppSec engineers, not the engineers themselves. Your focus is on your AppSec team. And then business. You need to get to a certain path where you are aligned with business to deliver the value that the business is looking for, not what security really wants. Because if security isn't aligned with business, then we have a bigger problem here. Second, it's look out for hidden teams. Hidden teams usually are subject matter experts teams. So we're talking QA, we're talking product, we're talking compliance, we're talking legal. Usually people forget about them. But when you go and poke them, they have like everything you can ask for. They will give you everything because they are left out. They want someone to talk to them, more or less. And they have the capabilities to build something with you. Especially when you look at QA. QA partially do what we do on a different scale, on a different focus. Um, so look out for them, reach out to them, have light conversations, get to know them. Use politics for good. When you go into security, you're gonna see politics is everywhere. You need buy-ins, you need a lot of that piece of where people go astray. They're like, I want to focus on myself, I want my ego, I want to grow myself, I will use everyone to do that, or I will use engineering to do that. And when you do that, that backfires on you. So I want to use the politics that you have for good. I want you to use it to build bigger programs, to fund the programs that you've started. Make decisions informed by metrics. We as security know what needs to happen, but business needs to understand what needs to happen. If you don't have the metrics, business is not going to listen to you. Engineering is not going to fund you. Everyone's going to look down at you and be like, you don't make sense. We need the metrics. At the end, build friendships, have some fun, because we're all in this together. So this is the way of being. And what do we do as an individual contributor on some of the challenges I have raised? Um, the first one is security champions. First of all, it's the kickoff, because there are several stages of a security champion program. And in the first kickoff bit, I want you to experiment. I want you to see how they work, how the work can be done by itself. And you don't want to be doing a lot of changes. You want to be as smooth as you can. You have to think long term, but just start with a small break. Like, oh, I know this developer who's slightly inclined in security. Have a small chat with them and see what they think about this feature. Maybe you'll get something out of it. And get to know them. Get to know them personally when possible. Befriend them. Become friends with them. Have casual conversations. Hey, you woke up on Thursday feeling a very good amount of energy. Oh, let me drop a message to Jimmy. I don't care. Someone. Just send a message. Be casual. Be friends with them. And ask them for their support to meet other team members. So from that person, befriend other people. It's simple. It's really simple. Just do it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Um, and then support them. This is very important. This is for the kickoff. I think these three words are very crucial, because once you support them, once you show that you have their back, they will trust you. They will listen to you. And when you tell them, I want to experiment with this, or I need your help with this, they will have your back in return. Uh, so these three for a kickoff are the most important. You don't need a strategy. You don't need a framework. You just need to drop a message. You just need to have a 15 minutes Zoom call every now and then if you want to do it. Most people do like async. We're engineers, so a lot of people prefer to stay in their small place. So yeah. Second is expansion. Right. Now we have 5 security champions. How do we go from here? How do we expand this growth? How do we make it faster? How do we make it bigger? And this is where we start talking about collaboration. We start to blend whoever the security champions are with what we do. So I want to do a security test on this feature. Oh, I've heard that this person likes this feature in particular and want to learn how to do testing. Great, come with me. I want to do this. If you have 30 minutes, let's go over the threats, how we can look at it, how we can test it. Have brainstorming sessions. Have a conversation with them of how you're looking at it, and they might give you ideas as well. So you're not losing time on this one. Create wider meetings between sec champs. When you want to start expanding, you want to establish a foundation. How do you do that? By just having regular calls between them. This is one of the challenges I have mentioned, that you're not consistent. Just have a 30 minutes catch up, uh, do your best, and security champions will help you have a topic to discuss most of the time. Share with them security news. Every other day, we have something blowing up somewhere. Every other day. You can just send them these and they'll tag each other, they'll have fun together. And when you find trainings, encourage them to go for it. Say, oh, you've been meaning to do this. I have found this training happening next month. Might want to go for it. And allow them to belong to a bigger organization. Because to grow from in a career, you really need to belong to a lot. Because if, let's say, you want to become an architect, you can't just be a simple engineer. You really need to understand how the bigger model works, how security works, how QA works. You want to blend all of them together. And if you give them a small piece of that, you will help them grow in their career and your company. So feed their corporate growth. Make sure you feed into that, because as an employee, this is what I care about. I want to grow in my company. I want to make more money. I want to get more visibility. I want to be able to build more fun projects. And this is how it happens. Uh, so establish a community that can grow people, not just for your own numbers. Make them feel like they belong. Tooling. Um, I'm going to start with integrating. And someone from the crowd mentioned unit tests, and this is amazing. Integrating finding through unit tests as an initial target. If you can get one of the security champions to experiment with this, we're going to go back a lot to experimenting. This is why it's so important. If you get them to experiment with unit tests, then you can start to build a certain culture of unit testing across the whole organization. Oh, we never thought about how do we test for XSS? Interesting. Let's send this vector, and then you have this library of attack vectors that QA have built for you, and suddenly engineering are using in specific functions. It just expands really fast. Second is choose tools that will integrate with your ecosystem. Don't look at a tool and, oh, this is the most spoken of. No, go find something that will fit with you. Bring an engineer with you to the demo. Ask them, what do you think about this tool? Does this work for you? Can we grow this in our industry? What can we do? And be sure to not do abrupt changes, piece by piece. Just start simple, grow. But don't forget to grow, because a lot of people start with something and then they stop midway. They're like, okay, cool, we have this tool. It's not giving us anything, but we have it. We want to look for customization. We want to look for engineering friendly tools. We want to look for things that we can tweak when we need to find a specific thing in our ecosystem, because every ecosystem is different by small margins. When you take Node.js, when you take Java, when you take whatever, small bits, sometimes you write your own code that is behind the wrapper, that is behind the wrapper. Well, when you put the security scanner on it, they don't identify anything. Um, so that is very important. And at the end, evangelize like there's no tomorrow. Why do I mention this here? Because tooling provides us with a lot of metrics. So if you can take that, if you can take teams and see how they've progressed across 2 months, across 6 months, you have an easy metric of how they're improving. Do we have more coverage? Do we have less vulnerabilities? What have we done about this? How are we tackling this? So this is very important to fund this piece. We have now threat modeling. It's going to be 2 sections as well. First one is kickoff. Um, First piece is just start small. Forget the tools, forget security, forget everything you know about it. Just go have an engineering team session. Go sit with them, have a chat. Don't think about security. Just be curious and ask them specific questions on what they're building. Engineers love to be challenged. They love to be asked interesting questions. They like they like conversations about their products. They like it. So converse, just have a chat. Then when you start having these conversations, start stimulating them. I know this has different connotations, but I'm not going into that. We're focusing on how do you stimulate their curiosity? How do you get their curiosity popping into security? They love engineering. Security is part of it. They just were never thought about it in university. We just need to poke them a bit, and they will go the longer way than more than we can expect. So just stimulate them on security. Let them think outside of their engineering targets. And then at the end, again, we're talking about this promote, add glam to their efforts. If you're having a conversation with a developer and they mention XSS and they go the full path with you, take it, go to your manager, say, this person knows this much about security, tell their manager good stuff. Just start the cycle, start talking good about them, start giving them feed into their career, and they will come back to you. And here, I'm directly showing all of them. How do you expand threat models? Threat models are rarely used to their full potential, which is where I think weaving comes in. I think weaving comes into everything, but specifically in threat models, because they're massive. They can be super big and they can be super small. You decide. But I'm going to tell you something. If you find threats, if you find risks, if you find controls, and you add to those some metadata, if you add some labels, if you add these small bits that glorify them, suddenly you have a template, and that templates create another template. So as an example, I'm using WordPress. Great, I create a first template of it, and then I start adding to it. What have we found further? And then when I come to build a new feature in my WordPress application, great, what have I already covered? What do I need for my next one? And at some point, threat modeling becomes fast. Everyone knows how to do it. The templates are there. You just take one, you add your technologies you're using. This is the specific product you're integrating within your internal company. So your products have identities now, which is this bill, this threat model bill. So weave, make everything lock in together, link them, and then map them to pen tests. So you have pen tests happening, and usually you get the same results. Well, because you're not feeding those pen testers enough knowledge. They don't know more. They can't know as much as an engineering know. But once you have this documentation built on you, you can give this to them and make them go an extra step further. What can I build on top of this threat model from a testing perspective? And this can feed as well into your requirements. So you create a threat model, and then your next requirements are fed from the threat model. At the end of the day, I want you to keep it simple, stupid. I'm using an engineering principle because I believe engineering principles have had a lot of fights. Um, Start at the simple stage, and every stage you go to is going to be simple, because the people that started with you and are progressing with you, it's still simple to them. When you add the small bit, it's still simple. The more you go, the simple, not the simpler, but it is simple. You get what I mean? And then since I'm a gymmer, this is very important. You have to keep it lightweight. I'm not gonna say baby because it's not so good. But keep it lightweight. People want lightweight stuff. He's not pulling lightweight, but for him it is lightweight. This is what I mean. Keep it stupid simple. For him, this is lightweight. For me, this is gonna be like 5 years from now. So keep your expectations. Let the iterations grow. Let the muscles grow bit by bit. No need to force it, because you'll injure yourself. And injury here means you lose buy-in, you lose the growth potential. And as engineers, I think I need to mention these bits. Learn to let go. When as you see a security champion getting to a certain stage, when you see a threat model good enough, let it go. Let it do its own thing. And then delegate. At some point, these security champions are strong enough. You have to delegate to them when you can. You have to trust them. Someone might fire at me like, how dare you trust and not verify? This is the biggest thing we say in security. And then every other day we have a breach. So like, really, where's our verification at? Um, so we can balance this. Of course, we should verify, especially when it's a newer security champion. But let's learn to trust and see if they fail. We all fail. We fail to educate them on this particular bit. How could we have done better as a collective? They're not separate from us. We need to make them belong to us. And now, as a leader, this is going to be one slide. It might look simple, but it's not, because leaders are the core essence for everything I've spoken about. If you don't have the support of a leader, you have to do everything I've mentioned in a smart way. You have to do it just on your own without bloating about it. And then suddenly you slowly start to get the fruits out of it because, for example, I received a security incident. I called in one of the security champion. That security champion made me fix the incident ultra fast. Without him, that would have taken me 2 days probably. So when I showcase that, then I start to get some feedback on, right, you didn't do anything with the security champion for leadership before, but you know that you have this bond with them. They helped you showcase it. So a leader's path is simple but crucial. So you need to identify key players. Who are the key players in your organization? Which departments should I talk to? Which engineering teams should I look at to get my business wins? Because not everyone is treated the same in an organization. Who are my business key players? I'm not saying go to talk to them immediately. I'm saying just see where the biggest pot gold is. Second is find people that want to build a relationship with you. So some people will have an inclination to security by design. They want to be doing security. Find them, go talk to them, get them on board, start with them. Then empower the business direction with a security vision. If security vision, again, doesn't align with business, if it doesn't feed into your business, if saying that your product is now more available, if it doesn't say that we are more secure than our competitor because X, Y, and Z, then you're missing out on something. And at the end, I want you to listen to your team and the teams you work with before you set your vision. So I'm saying envision, but I want you to do it with your teams. Go talk to them. They have experienced the most. How can you build on what they have done so far? Listen to them and build from them. Don't build your own on your own. I mentioned metrics at some point. I'm just slightly touching on them. I'm not mentioning the exact metrics. I'm giving a grouping of them. First one of them is security champions growth. How are they growing? Is it healthy? Are we declining? Are we good? Are they growing themselves? So depending on each of these strategies, you want to look at what matters to me. Because in every organization, you're at a certain level. So talking about threat models influence, we can look at it. How many did AppSec build? How many did security champions build? How many did engineering actually build into? How many did these influence pen tests? Build this connection. Find what makes influence matter to you, and then mention that. Find the metrics that matter to you. Maybe it's about how many high risks you have in your threat models. Maybe it's the amount of risks you have. Doesn't matter to me. It matters to you. Find what matters to you. Vulnerabilities and risk trackers. Everyone talks about vulnerabilities and where the risk plays, and we're usually panicking because we're never covering enough. Features coverage, it's a simple one, but see how much you're covering in your organization. Maybe you have 5 teams that you're looking at, and then you have 50. Well, if you grow into 7, that's good. You're progressing, and this is what matters. These metrics need to grow and fund your future of what AppSec is doing. And then, of course, incidence counts and how fast you're remediating. Because the more security you have in your company, the more people know how security incidents happen. They know how to work with you. They know how to do things without having to explain a lot of things. Support scale. I think I'm not going to hide from this. Support is very important. And when you have 500 engineering teams and you're a group of 15 people, how do you support them? It's I'm not going to be the one answering. It's going to be the experts that you have in your own company, because you already have project managers, you already have tech leads, and you already have directors. As ICs, you need to talk to project managers and leaders. If you use Jira, go and talk to who organizes this. How can I integrate my tickets into your flow? How can I make it part of your team to look at this? How can I make this native? Is what I'm looking for. Make this native to whoever you're working with, because they will enable whatever you're working on. They will track it. They will help you track it. The more culture you build around this, the more tracking you have, the better it is. So for every company, it's going to be unique. You have to be flexible. Some things might work with a certain team, might not work with another. So talk to them, be flexible, accept that maybe what you propose at the start might be changed. It's fine, because they're the ones that need to work with you on it. It's in their basket. So see how you can fund into them. And then you build your own matrix. See, okay, they're using whatever they want. Some companies don't want to use trackers, they use documentation, or they directly go into issues, GitHub issues, or whatever, and they go from there. Build slow. Do not force a lot of things. Again, do not push a lot. Just slowly. Start slowly. Don't create 7 tickets for everything. Create 1 ticket. See what you can add to it. See sub tickets. And then every team, however fast they grow, then you start adding. We need to add the tooling. We need to add the steps. We need to add the. Did we actually cover everything by the end of it? And then team wins. Look at everything you do as a team. You're not separate, but we like to look at it separately, because this is how business looks at us. But our job here to enable this is to look at this together. Their problems are our problems. Our problems are not theirs yet, but this is where we aim to go. We want them to see our problems like they are their own. One important thing, this is the only avoid I say, avoid overhead of bureaucracy, because at some point you have 1700 tickets, a lot of things that are in the backlog that nobody cares about, nobody looks at, nobody follows up on. And this is bad. It looks bad for everyone, because hey, you build this program, you marketed to us and you sold it to us, but you're not following on it. You're not really following on it, so it looks bad on you. So to end this, on a Thursday evening, what takeaways am I going to tell you here to take? Because I've spoken a lot. Mostly, I want you to find your way, and this way is going to be in 6 bullet points. Strategic targets. Strategy will give you purpose, a destination. This is where you're heading. If you don't have that, then go back to the start. See where you are heading. Figure out where business is heading. Figure out where you are heading as well. Track the work you do. Tracking will help you stay accountable to your own work, with yourself and with engineering and with SMEs and with business and everything. Showcase the need. Once you do the tracking, once you have the metrics, once you see all of that, you can showcase what will fund into your strategy that you set. So don't look really high up the moon, just look in front of you. This is my first target. When you're getting there, you're going to get more wins, then push harder. So it's going to showcase why you need more money or resources or whatever you want to call it. Mentor the curiosity. I think this is the most important bit from an engineering perspective. Making sure that when someone comes to you, you actually give them from your heart. You let them know that you care about them. You let them know this is where you can grow. This is how you can go. I know you chose to be an individual contributor, but I'm pretty sure you can speak an engineer to an engineer and actually see, right, I know way too much about about security. I can give them a bit about it. I can tell them how it will grow their experience, how they can build a better product, how they can become senior or staff or architects because of this skill. Because if you don't have it, I don't think I don't think people will look up to you. When people find a lot of vulnerabilities in your code, it's not going to be a good sign. Make sure it's iterative growth. Engineering showed us agile works but a lot of things have juiced this out and made it into marketing. So agile now is not the agile I'm talking about. I'm talking about iterative growth. Go slow, take iterations, and get where you need step by step. And then at the end, keep it lightweight. I'm not talking about Ronnie, but keep it lightweight because this will allow change to happen. People are going to be reluctant to you. They don't know you. They don't know your map, your destination, your whatever. We have our product. If you keep it lightweight for them, if you keep it engaging, they will join you slowly, steadily. And at the end, I want you to have fun and lift heavy. Okay, fine. Have fun and weave the bonds, the relationships you're doing, and get somewhere where you want to be. Uh, you can lift heavy too. Doesn't hurt to lift. Um, right. Thank you.
Yeah, we did overrun a little bit, but we've got time for a couple of questions if there are anyone who'd like to ask them.
We also have a working microphone now.
Which apparently does not need to be used.
Ah, there we go.
Yours.
You can throw, but I can't throw. You might be able to.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for the presentation and great insights. Do you have any recommendations for tooling unification? Because both speakers today showed a picture that is at least scary on the security tooling landscape. How do we bring all of this together?
Security tooling is having a slight growth now. People are looking at CI/CD pipelines. I'm not going to mention tools right now because we're not marketing for anything specific. But some tools are trying to take several things into one to build it into a single glass of pane. Is that your question? Is that where you're heading towards? Having that pane where it merges from all of the tools into one? Or are we talking about something different?
No, that's exactly like ASOC, ASPM, CSPM.
Yeah. No, I mentioned the SPM slightly on one of the slides, but going deep into it right now like takes a whole lot of time than I already have.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers.
Any other questions? I think that's it. In which case, thank you all. Well,
Thank you.
Last round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you again, all the people who joined on the stream, and we will see you next time.
And don't forget to join the Catch the Flag next week if you're interested. It's on UX.
Thank you again.
Thank you.